What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fat2Fit Show, edition 2. If you remember, we did it with Chris, my friend Chris, and we are launching a whole new edition, and I'm super excited. This is the podcast that documents one man's journey, the man sitting right next to me right now, journey from morbid obesity to optimum health. I'm your host, Coach Matt O'Brien, and I'm the founder of TrYumph Fitness and Nutrition, author of The Magic Pill and Fitness Fuel, and a functional health coach for the last 26 years. And I'm joined by my client and friend and super stud, Matthew Morey, who's a busy husband and father of 5 plus 1 on the way. Did I say that right?
You did.
That's crazy.
Happy husband.
Happy husband. Awesome.
Happy father.
Correction.
Yep.
And business owner. A lot on his plate, who has bravely decided to take control of his health. And over the next year, the purpose of this journey and documenting on this show is sharing Matt's weight loss journey from the initial challenges and the reality of getting through the first phases of adjusting his diet and adding in exercise and the things that are going to move the needle on his way to reaching his fitness and health goals. And our mission, and Matthew is aligned with me on this, is to inspire you, the listeners, who may be struggling with their weight or struggling with their nutrition. And by showing that it's possible to overcome even the toughest challenges that you think may be unsurmountable to achieve your goals. This is real life. We're doing it live because it's real, it's authentic. We're not recording this, we're not editing it. We're just coming to you straight up. So bear with us and be forgiving if we have typical, confusion like I am right now, not knowing what to say.
Especially me. I'll get used to it too.
I think Matthew's do better than me. But before we dive into Matt's transformation, we just want to make sure it's clear the Fat2Fit Show does not constitute medical advice. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things on all the bells and whistles and all the rabbit holes you can go down through, because Matthew's doing a lot of them. Anyone who's attempting to lose weight should consult with their doctor like Matthew did to ensure their diet and exercise routine are safe and appropriate for their individual needs. That being said, come along with us on this journey from Matthew's Fat to Fit as we work together to transform Matt's life and prove that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Your health is your wealth. Strong is young, and today could be the day that changes the rest of your life for the better. So welcome, Matthew. And we just met, just over a week ago, maybe 10 days ago? Is that about right?
Less than 2 weeks. Yep, less than 2 weeks ago. And Matthew reached out to me on social media and was actually dealing with Seminole Happenings issue, which he is one of the admins for a group with over 70,000. Yep, over 70,000 now.
70,000, that's crazy. So there's a lot of responsibility there on top of his business. And then kind of reached out. So today, the purpose of this first show is kind of dig into Matthew's story and how we got here. Do you mind sharing the weight you started out at?
Not at all. I went into my very first doctor appointment. I hadn't had any labs in 10 years, so I haven't had weights taken. I haven't paid any attention because I'd rather not know. And I walked in there and I started at 350.7 pounds.
And do you mind sharing your age?
I'm 46 years old.
So 46, you haven't had labs in over 10 years.
Yep.
And like a lot of males, me being one of them, we like to think we're immortal. And the less we know about our health, the better. We don't need that stuff. We're not too good for it, but we just think we feel fine. So everything must be fine. Is that a fair?
Don't need more stress.
And don't need more stress. So Matthew, you share with me, there's usually a catalyst for change, or in your case, kind of a radical shift in your mindset. Walk us back to December 9th, 10th. What happened on that
Definitely
particular 2 days that really change the course of your life, and I would argue is going to add 10 to 15 years to your legacy, your life. What happened on those 2 days, December 9th, 10th?
Well, my wife's pregnant with our number 6, and the last 2 pregnancies, there's been gestational diabetes involved. And for this pregnancy, they wanted her to come in for a 24-hour glucose test. So we checked into St. Pete General in the evening on the 9th, and she needed to stay there for 24 hours. And I got to sit there for probably a good 8 or 9 hours with her during that time, listening to doctors and nurses coming in and asking her questions, and being careful of what they're feeding her so they can get the tests right, and urine samples and all the other things they've got to do. And through that research and through sitting there and thinking how important this is for my baby and for my wife, that why don't I pay attention to stuff like that? And so I questioned, where am I worrying about my ability to take care of my family when it comes down to my health? And I just so happened to be able to reach out to a local business that I'm familiar with through Seminole Happenings, a verified business of ours named Hesed Health. Mm-hmm. And Sarah, the nurse practitioner there, pretty much jaw dropped when I told her that I hadn't had labs in 10 years. And she asked me if I was serious, it's a joke.
Are you serious?
And,
when did you reach out? December 10th?
I was very serious. December 10th was when our breakfast meeting was. So, or we had a meeting. Actually, I was on the 9th. So on the 9th, before we went to the hospital, I'd actually talked to Sarah, just trying to find out about her business and, get to know more about her. And so when I was in the hospital, I started thinking that, this is somebody I need to contact. So on Thursday of that week, I contacted her and I said, okay, well, I need to pay attention to what's going on. How do I start? And she says, well, the very first thing you got to do is get you some labs. So she put an order in for me to go ahead and go down to LabCorp and get a pretty extensive panel. They drew blood the following morning.
Do you mind sharing how many vials of blood they drew from you?
They took 5.
5?
They took 5. Yeah.
Are you afraid of needles? Or
I hate needles.
Oh, you do?
I hate needles. Yes.
So that was actually more of a traumatic event for you.
It's all part of the game, I guess. But yeah, that was the very first step of, okay, go ahead. And I always look the other way. It's been quite a few years.
Her nurse practitioner, Sarah Russo, and she ordered the labs, and then you went to LabCorp and Quest is another big one that a lot of my clients use, and got those 5 vials drawn. And then how long was it from there? Like, what was the next step? Her reviewing those lab results with you?
Well, she had made an appointment with me when I talked to her on Thursday. She said, why don't you come in on Friday? And we'll discuss what you've got going on, and then, you get your labs done. I had the labs done at 7:30 in the morning on Friday. I stopped by Chick-fil-A, grabbed myself a breakfast burrito, which is, kind of my regular on the road, busy doing work and stopping, grabbing food. Ate that and went to her office by, I believe it was 9 o'clock in the morning. And after weighing in, getting some measurements and talking about, the different things that she asked me about my health, she said she'd be very surprised if I wasn't diabetic, but we needed to wait for the labs to come in. And that was on Friday. And then Monday evening, my email came through from the labs that said that, my results have come in. And my wife and I actually were going through, we just got back from a friend's house and we were in the driveway and I'm going through the email and I'm reading my labs and I'm looking at it going pretty good until we started hitting my A1C. Triglycerides were just a little bit high. Deficiency was ridiculous.
Yeah. So for our listeners' benefit, the HbA1c score is kind of a trailing indicator of your average blood glucose, and like a 5.6 is considered pre-diabetic, and then over 6.5 is diabetic in terms of type 2 diabetes, meaning your body, your pancreas can't make enough insulin to keep up with the insulin resistance that's created from metabolic dysfunction. So with that in mind, what did you see on those labs?
Very nice. The A1C was 9.
9.
And it was
Woo!
a 9.
Did that make you freak out, or did you say, holy crap, or what was your reaction?
It changed. It instead of thinking that I had a diet to get on, it changed my entire perception into I need to stay alive. So the 9, I'm a research hound, so I look up things, and between the time I took the labs and while waiting for the results, I had looked up everything, thinking that I'd probably be pre-diabetic, and I figured I would come into that 5.7, 5.8 worst case scenario, and when I saw the 9, it was a serious result that I needed to pay attention to.
So in 30. Context, you're sitting in the driveway, your wife is sitting next to you, you're reading these results on the phone, and you see that you're a husband, you're a provider, you're a father, and you see that number. Did you have a visceral reaction, like you said, like this isn't?
It did. It changed. Like it was a mind shift into I got work to do. And 30 minutes after those results came in, I had a text message from Sarah over at Hesed Health, and she had gotten my labs the same time I did. She had already read through them, and 8:30 in the evening, she's asking me, "We got work to do. Can you come in tomorrow?" So I went in the following day.
I want to plug Sarah real quick. She's
amazing.
200 plus consultations that involved a client working with a doctor or a practitioner that did the labs. And you may remember when I was interrogating you in our discovery session and I was asking all the things she was doing. And I was just like, I think this is honestly the most comprehensive approach that I've ever seen in terms of what I understand with functional health and studying under the top functional health doctor in the country, whose name is Peter Attia. And I was like, wow, she is on point. And more impressive than that was the genuine care and concern and be willing to communicate with you at 8:30 at night and showing like she had a genuine concern for you. And you don't see that very often, if ever. So kudos to her and kudos to the, God divine connection that created that relationship. And I'm excited to meet her and refer her business because, just a little plug for her. This isn't about her, but super excited. I was excited to be work with you because you're in good hands on that side, which is largely out of my control. And knowing you have that domino secured makes me a lot more excited about what we can do together with the nutrition and the gym side of things. So really cool. So sidetrack, tangent. Sorry.
She's worth it.
Yeah. So 8:30 at night, she texts you, we got work to do. What was the next step?
Next morning, I went in and she went over the labs with me and explained the deficiency in vitamin D. She was very surprised that I didn't have fatty liver. I didn't have any kidney issues. She was because it's been 10 years since I've had any labs. We have no idea how much damage was actually done. But she said, okay, well, this is something that you need to attack with 90% nutrition. She said it's going to take a journey of going through and changing a lot of things about what you're doing. She says, but I'm glad we found it now and not a year from now. So she put me on some vitamin D supplements, D3, K2, because I was extremely deficient. I guess that's an issue that that pre-diabetic and diabetic diagnoses have in common. So
just real quick, vitamin D3 deficiency is attributed to 105 different conditions and diseases and autoimmune issues. And, just with the reality, like we've been educated, the sun causes skin cancer, but 15 minutes of natural sunlight every day will meet our D3 requirements. But none of us, I can't speak for everybody, but the majority of Americans are D3 deficient, and it's something I've had to regulate myself, and I certainly encourage my clients to pay attention to that number. So that was just one marker that she was on top of, that she made you aware of. So
Yep.
what else about the lab stood out to what she communicated to you?
Oh, the A1C at 9 is pretty extreme. And in order to be able to start with that, she basically explained to me that getting the weight off quickly is gonna benefit me the best in the long run, and being able to attack that. Didn't want to go the metformin route. She wanted to do a medical weight loss, along with nutrition changes, and so we're going the route with tirzepatide, and so it's helping me make great choices. At the same time, I'm still I don't know if it's the tirzepatide or it's the medical diagnosis that really changed my heart into just saying that there is no option. I'm not on a diet where I have options to decide if I wanted to do the wrong thing. I'm 100% in, and luckily that's my personality of all in or all out, and so I'm doing that. And then the next,
I was going to ask you, didn't you ask me at some point when we were communicating what I felt about like the GLP-1s?
I did. That was like right before I weighed in the very first time with you, because I wanted to know from your standpoint, being the expert when it comes down to nutrition and working out, if that was going to be something that was going to hurt me, or if that was a benefit. And it seemed like it was pretty. It's almost like when I had back surgery back years and years ago, and I remember asking the surgeon, do you want me to wait until I lose some weight before we do this? And he just kind of looked at me and laughed at me and said, no, you need back surgery right now. It's take the tools and fix what you got, and your response to me was pretty much, well, which one are you on? And, are you going to stick to your diet? And it was a positive. So
my philosophy is, if you can use a science-backed tool that would be a catalyst to create the change and get you into momentum to fuel the behaviors that are going to create a sustainable lifestyle to lose weight and get healthy the right way, I'm all for it. And we know as human beings, like the reason why so many people drop off on their New Year's resolutions within 2 weeks, in 30 days, it's like 80% of the people that make resolutions have already fallen off. And that's because they're not into momentum. They have not seen results. And that's where, the GLP-1s, which are really, I would say, popular right now, and semaglutide being one, tirzepatide being the other, and there's a third one in the pipeline that's coming out. My hope is that those will be, I think this is, because they're so popular, I think this is a good side journey or side tangent to talk about all the studies. They did 28-month studies with both semaglutide and tirzepatide. And tirzepatide had a little bit better results than semaglutide. It's got two things, and semaglutide's attacking one thing. And the new one's doing three things. But the reality is the people that lost weight also lost a sufficient amount of lean muscle mass. And if you aren't aware of that, then what happens is you lose that lean muscle mass, which has been conclusively proven in 2017 studies to be basically your predictor of functional health span is strength and VO2 max. Those are the top two, 10 times more important than blood pressure at predicting your functional health span, which is how long you'll live and still be able to put your clothes on, drive a car, fly on a plane, brush your teeth, use the bathroom by yourself. And so it's important, and I educate clients, and you approach me, so I didn't even have to educate you. You were asking me like for help on the exercise side. You said you're a research junkie, so you probably were aware that if you don't work out with weights, a lot of your weight loss could be muscle. And
well, that was another recommendation Sarah had, is she said reach out and start strength training. And she suggested that right away. Like, we're not waiting for anything. Go ahead and get started. Um, yeah, we're going to attack this as timely as possible.
Yeah, that's
So
why I always like to frame it as the right way to lose weight. And the right way, in a nutshell, is moving your ass, lifting some weights, eating real food that is low glycemic or low insulin generating. And
yes.
we're going to dig into the nutrition protocol that's working wonders for you and why.
Yes.
So I always look at nutrition through the lens of insulin and inflammation. And then how do we incorporate a realistic, sustainable nutrition plan that keeps insulin and inflammation as low as possible, because those are both correlated to longevity and fat loss. And that simplifies the process. And your approach is obviously working well. And I don't know if it was, I believe it was something she recommended, and we'll dive into that in a second. And then moderating stress and getting quality sleep and quantity sleep. So that's health in a nutshell. That's what I call health made simple in 5 easy steps. Not easy steps, 5 simple steps. They're simple in concept, but can be challenging for some to implement. And I wrote down a note when you were talking that there's a cliche that knowledge is power. And I always caveat that it's not knowledge is power. You can have all the knowledge in the world and be,
It's the use of it.
you're a smart guy and you had a lot of knowledge, and yet you were 353 pounds. I always caveat applied knowledge is power. So when you put what you know to use, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've experienced that, and I always say misery loves company, but it's kind of a joke that without support, it's kind of hard to apply that knowledge. So you're already assembling a success team to help you on this journey. You're not, I'm just going to use the word egotistical enough to believe that you can do this on your own. And a lot of people go at it on their own, and you're on an island, and, we're human natures. We're going to let ourselves down first and foremost, more so than we would let somebody else down. So tell me a little bit about that, like how you've assembled this team and what that process was like for you. And I hope it inspires other people to get help.
Yeah, it's just knowing that I've done this in the past. 12 years ago, I lost a bunch of weight. And obviously I put it all back on, almost all of it. And it's because I was all on my own. I did go to a weight loss clinic, but I didn't change anything, and they didn't require me to change anything. They just kind of tracked, what I was losing, and, I lost the weight.
And let me guess, they put you on some amphetamines or something.
Phetamine. Yep.
Yeah. So the phetamine was doing all the work. And then once you came off the phetamine without the lifestyle changes, I would assume most or some of the weight came back.
Well, most of it came back. I ended up, because of my lifestyle, when it comes down to my work, I do a lot of on-site, do a lot of driving. So a lot of my meals were, stopping and grabbing something as, I'm going by. It turned into, it was easier just to buy myself some Coke, or get myself a coffee with a lot of cream and a lot of sugar. And, that fueled me for what I needed to get done. And I'd usually eat, a decent meal or go out to eat, and, in the evenings, but, I always skip breakfast, and, it was just it was a terrible, it was a terrible way of trying to think that I was being nutritious whatsoever. But
were you looking at that Coke as calories to fuel you, or
it was sugar, and caffeine.
Was it a reward, or was it more like I need energy so I can keep going?
It was meal replacement. It was simply, I need the caffeine and the sugar so I don't get a headache.
Okay, so just a way to fill up your gas tank so you can keep on going, your human gas tank.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And
that's important to understand the mindset, because some people, it's like I always say, snacks are crack. A lot of these things hijack our opioid receptors or our dopamine receptors, and that can create food or Coke addiction, and that just becomes literally an addiction. And
I was there too. I mean, there was, you know, at some points a Polar Pop from
what's a
Circle
polar
K was,
pop?
it's a giant styrofoam cup that you fill at their fountain with
With soda?
Coke. Oh
Okay.
yeah. And I consider that my happy drink, you know. So that's, you know, after
Yeah.
a job well done, I'd stop by, I'd grab one of those, and you know, I'd have it in the evening or something like that.
So
So
you
it
created
was,
a kind of a reward loop with a polar cup.
yep.
Yeah.
Polar
And
Pop. Yep.
we're gonna, I mean, you've kind of severed, like you've taken kind of a drastic all or nothing approach, which we'll talk about. But I think, you know, at some point in a lot of people's journey, we have to create kind of a self-awareness. And I like to use the word ownership or own your shit, pardon the French.
Yep.
We have to have ownership of and be self-aware enough to kind of take a step back. And I think that doctor's appointment with your wife is what kind of forced you to kind of take a step back and say, wait a second, I need to start thinking about these things. And kudos to you for taking action, which is a lot of people say, oh, I need to take action, but they never do. And I'm just super excited. And that I have the opportunity to work with you and just seeing your drive and discipline and what I always tell my clients. I had to learn as a trainer in my early career that I can't create the internal motivation. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to create that. I need to say the right things, to do the right things, and create motivation in them. And I would beat myself up when they failed. So I always tell my clients now, which I told you too, like I can't create the motivation for you. I'm the navigator. I'm giving you like directional guidance, but you're still the captain of your ship. And if you don't have that internal motivation and you have a family, a big family, a wife that from everything, I can't wait to meet her. Everything I've heard is that she's amazing.
Just wonderful.
And a good supportive team that you're built. Like kudos to you for building a team. And one of my biggest takeaways for people that are watching this is don't, like you already said, like don't try to do it alone. You might be successful in the short term, but you'll ultimately fail because you can't do it all. We all have lots of distractions, and the more team, supportive team that you have. And then another thing we're going to dig in future episodes is like creating an environment of family, friends, work that and even maybe even where you live, you may need to change that to create an environment for success. Because if you're in an environment where 5 out of 6 people are doing the things that are driving you to behaviors that aren't successful, that's like the floodwaters are going to pull you in that direction. So we can make a conscious, self-aware decision to create an environment or move towards an environment that it's going to be the opposite, where the floodwaters are, or at least the river is going to move us to success. So you've done that at light speed. So on that note, I really want to kind of talk about some of your early success and to do this to inspire others that, you can make some fairly simple changes and reap some pretty immediate results. So you started at 553, was it? 350. Sorry. 353.
Yeah.
And
350.7.
350.7. And that was, when did you actually start changing something?
On the 17th of December. Yep.
December 17th. You were 350.3.
So almost a month from today.
And so 350.3. And then today at TrYumph, do you remember what you weighed? I have the data right here from our $10,000 in body, but I guess it's up to $18,000 from what you said. Sarah got quoted. I bought mine a while ago. And do you remember what you were?
Today was 330. I'm not sure what the point.
330.9. So that's
almost 20 pounds.
Just shy of 20 pounds in less than a month. And that was, to your credit and Sarah's credit, largely from nutrition. And she said 90% nutrition. I'm going to push back on that a little bit. My whole book, The Magic Pill, the punchline of that is exercise the magic pill, and it trumps nutrition. It trumps almost everything. Well, it trumps everything long-term for success. So I say it's a combination of things. exercise, building lean mass strength, creates a glucose depository in our muscle tissue, where the liver and the muscle tissue are our glucose disposal units. So the more muscle we have, which we lose in a sedentary lifestyle if we get older, now we have less ability to deal with that glucose, which creates insulin resistance. And then insulin resistance, ultimately, once the pancreas says, crap, dude, I can't make enough
I'm
insulin.
done.
I'm done. I'm
Yep.
still trying.
Yep.
Then that is when your A1C starts rising. And this, just real quick advice for anybody that's paying attention. If you're dealing with your doctor and they're just phoning it in and ordering the CBC and your metabolic panel and fasting glucose, that fasting glucose will take 10 years on average, ballpark, to start revealing a situation that might be problematic, where a fasting insulin will be more real time. And if your body's pumping out 30, a fasting insulin score of 30 or higher, or 15 or higher, that's a warning sign. Your fasting blood sugar could be normal.
Do you remember what mine was?
God,
32.
Yeah, it was like that's the highest I've seen. So if you had done that, like even without the A1C, your body's like pumping insulin to kind of help keep the fasting blood sugar regulated. So takeaway for anybody listening: if you get labs, you have insurance, like ask your doctor for a fasting insulin score and a uric acid score. If that's over 5 and your fasting insulin is over 15, you're having some signs of metabolic dysfunction. And that means your body's not knowing how to regulate glucose. So that being said, talk to me. You had this appointment with Sarah. She's going over your labs. So what was her first recommendations? Nutrition was big. Does she kind of prescribe a nutrition plan or advise you on kind of what direction you should go? What happened?
She immediately explained to me that I need to curb the carbohydrates to less than 50 a day. And then later in the same conversation, after hearing the, I'm all in or all out, and I'm willing to do,
and that's less than 50 grams, I'm assuming.
Grams, correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And after having the conversation, letting her know that, I'm looking towards, kind of cutting them all the way out. And she said, okay, well, let's lower that down to 30, a max of 30. And I asked her about, things about, the doing more protein, almost no carbs. And she was, if you can stick to it, let's do lean protein, fillets, flank steaks for red meats, no chicken skin, turkey, just trying to stay away from inflammatory items, pork, trying to stay away from any and all seed oils. She was a big proponent of just using avocado oil, organics.
For our audience benefit, did she go over what the seed oils are, or was that something you already had researched?
A little bit.
With?
Yeah, she went over a little bit to explain what it was, which got my appetite to go look it up after I left out of there.
Pun intended.
It was eye-opening to see what the seed oils are actually doing to people. It's sad.
Yeah, they're very polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, and there's some camps that are blaming PUFAs as the entire scourge of health issues in America and the world, but it's a combination of things. They're definitely inflammatory. Some of the common ones, so I don't put you on the spot, like canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, safflower oil, are some of the more common ones. And just understand, when you're at restaurants, they are there to make money. They are profit-based businesses, and you don't see a nonprofit restaurant. But that being said, they're going to err on the side of the cheap commercial, seed oils in their cooking. So at a restaurant, doesn't mean restaurants are bad. And I've had clients lose a lot of weight. And we'll get into your meal last night that you tracked on your glucose monitor, that you can do okay in restaurants. And this can be exciting news to clients. I have clients that 5-6 nights a week, no joke, not exaggerating, are dependent on restaurants. But they're healthy because they're making smart decisions. So at restaurants, you have to be a little bit vigilant about picking preparation methods for the food that involve less oil. So frying is obviously the biggest one that involves oil. Your food is literally swimming in it at high temperature. And so that oxidizes and exposes you to more fat from that oil. So more calories, more inflammation, and oxidation. So that's the worst. And then on the good side, we have grilled, baked, broiled, steamed are the classic examples of healthy cooking in a restaurant. So you just have to be a little bit vigilant of how is this food prepared. If it's sauteed, most chefs are sauteing they ladle in the oil, which again is the cheap commercial seed oils, and they're tossing your food in it. So you could do okay in restaurants. You have to be able to be vigilant. We'll do a whole episode on that in the future, but planting that seed. So she talked to you about, I really want to dig into how you ended up eating the way you're eating, because a lot of people, this might seem extreme, but I want to end some of the mythology around, in fairness, we'll call it carnivore. I like to call it carnivore plus is the way I eat. It's protein forward with fibrous vegetables and strategic fats. That's my nutrition made simple in a nutshell. How did she explain nutrition to you, and how did you end up where you're at?
She basically said that I need to power my body on things that won't spike my glucose. That'll keep my my insulin from having to.
So what are those things?
Continuously. Mostly is going to be lean red meats. Just lean items that are high in protein. The protein number that she gave me to start was 150 grams a day to be able to, to maintain as much muscle mass as I can without the workout. And then we added another 50 grams a day with the workout plan. So that's up to 200 grams a day.
Was that her or was that me? I don't care.
The 50 was you. The 50 was extra, and she put me on the 150 immediately as soon as tirzepatide was mentioned. That was that. And then she's got me on a serving and a half of fiber daily.
What source?
Psyllium husk.
Okay.
Just an organic.
I like digging in these questions because you'll listen to podcasts and they'll kind of glance over these things, and people are like, well, how do I do that? So forgive me for interrupting, but I really want people to understand the nuances and really what exactly you're doing. So what I'm gathering, you're on 150, now 200 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs down from the 50. How much fiber through psyllium husk?
It's a serving and a half. So I'm not exactly sure the count on it, but
is that like a scoop or something that's in the container?
It is. It's a scoop. You put it into water, kind of taste,
and then
a little gritty.
Are you doing any kind of fibrous vegetables, or is that
broccoli? Broccoli is probably my main. Cabbage.
Okay, and then what about she selectively picked leaner cuts of meat to keep the calories from fat down. But do you add or incorporate any what I call strategic fats, which makes no sense to anybody unless I explain it?
I do grass-fed butter,
walnuts. What did you say?
I use grass-fed butter.
Grass-fed butter is a good one.
I've got some organic peanut butter that I have a little bit every once in a while, and it is a nothing but organic peanuts and salt. Perfect.
So we got a little bit of oil floating on top, probably.
It's not the consistency of what people expect peanut butter to be, but it's it's good.
Yeah. So you kind of that's exactly one of the exact little dessert I had last night was I dug in with a spoon into my natural peanut butter, little oil floating on top, and just kind of use it like a lollipop. Enjoyed it. So cool. So it's kind of carnivore-ish with the broccoli and the psyllium to add some fiber. And then from talking to you, and I wanted you to share with the audience, was it her idea, or how did you get to this, what's commonly referred to as 16-8 intermittent fasting protocol, where you eat 8 hours and you don't eat in 16?
She suggested stop eating at the latest at 8 p.m. And the best thing to start would be a 16-8 window. And once I realized that the 16-8, where I'd get up in the morning, I wouldn't eat till noon. Breaking the fast was going to be with protein, a good fat protein, and I just realized that the benefits of, again, I'm researching everything, so I'm reading up more on the benefits of fasting. So I switched it to an 18-6. So I have a 6-hour window to get that protein in. But it's really honestly given me a lot of clarity of not having to think about food, not having to create meals and figure out where I'm going to be and when I'm going to eat, and it's kind of a nice change.
It's kind of like I don't know if you were in a Catholic school like I was growing up, but it was like we had a uniform: blue slacks, white button down, short sleeve shirt. So I never had to make a clothing choice in the morning. So I was a little, in hindsight, it's like less decision making leaves you more willpower, energy to make health decisions.
Right.
So I want to touch on that a little bit, because there's OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. And then I call OMAD Plus, which is 1 meal a day plus a high protein snack. When I did a lot of research, they did a study, isocaloric and isoprotein, meaning protein and calories were equated or even. And what they found with the OMAD approach, where your body can only assimilate so much protein in one sitting, and that ended up leading to muscle wasting or people losing muscle. So having at least 6 to 8 hours where you can distribute some protein over those time, they found 2 meals up to 6 meals with the protein being the same. The difference in terms of muscle mass effects was only 2.5%, so negligible. Versus OMAD, those people lost muscle. So my only caveat would be I've had clients that lost an extreme amount of weight doing OMAD, but it was at the expense of some of their muscle mass. And the problem with that is your muscle mass is predominantly equated to your metabolism. So if you lose muscle mass, and people doing tirzepatide and semaglutide without resistance training, they lose 20-30% of that weight loss is from muscle. And then they go back to, now they have to eat even less calories to maintain the weight loss. And that's not sustainable. It's pretty miserable if you have to eat 1,000 calories a day for the rest of your life. It's not very enjoyable. So you're doing, like Sarah said, and I'm your village is helping you in your research too, to give you credit, to do this the right way, so that at the end of this journey, which our journey is going to, take, 100 pounds of fat loss. We want to document that, but, and we'll see where you're at. What, I think at the end of the day, I like to use visceral fat and percentage body fat as the gold standard, as well as what the InBody does is kind of shows you a C pattern, a I pattern, or a D pattern. When you get to a D pattern and your visceral fat's under 10 and ideally 5 or less, you're in a very healthy position in terms of body composition. So we'll see, and we'll be talking about that as we go. We did that InBody today, and your do you remember what your body fat percentage was?
Percentage, I don't remember.
But
I lost.
He started.
I lost 5 pounds of body fat since the first InBody, and then I gained almost
9th.
Yeah, from the 9th till today, the 17th.
And your muscle mass went up almost a pound.
Yeah,
so you're not gonna be able to see it, but I'll be sharing these as we go. But this here, what I call the divergence, like a Pac-Man mouth, when the muscle mass is going up and the fat mass is going down, that's what I look at as anybody's functional health coach. And when you can create that pattern, what I call the divergence, you are hitting a home run. You're gaining muscle while losing fat. And
the machine is
arguments
working.
from my peers that's impossible. I have 83% of my clients gain muscle and lose fat. it is possible. And the InBody, for those that don't know, I spent a lot of money on it, over 10 grand. And it's supposed to be the most accurate correlation to a DEXA scan, which is considered a gold standard. And I can't afford a $450,000 DEXA scan, but it gives us a tool that we'll be using to document Matthew's journey and share with our audience. So things are already happening. You're already gaining muscle and losing fat, and from 3 pretty minor workouts. Can you kind of
feeling really good?
Yeah.
Feeling,
So
the feeling of working out is nice.
Yeah. So a lot of people are afraid and intimidated by the workout part, or it's uncomfortable. But I'm reading a book called Dopamine Nation, written by a really intelligent psychiatrist from Stanford Medical School. And she's talking about, in a nutshell, like the pain, pleasure balance. So our body, when we have more pain, that scale goes down, then the body wants homeostasis, and it's going to create more pleasure to bring that in balance. So workout is painful, and people have heard of the runner's high. But when you work out, temporary pain creates the balance of more lasting pleasure, and it's manipulating dopamine, endorphins, endocannabinoids. That's hard to say. And endorphins are a natural morphine in the body and the brain. So you have this temporary painful experience. We'll call it is what it is, but you're investing in that to create more pleasure. And for me, more mental clarity, less. I'm very prone to depression, to be completely transparent. And the fear of that depression, having gone down that rabbit hole, is a strong motivator for me to incorporate the temporary pain of exercise. And for you, it's keeping the muscle mass that you have. You're very fortunate. Matthew, for our audience, is a mesomorph, so he's able to gain and maintain muscle a little bit easier than an ectomorph. An endomorph generally gains weight at an unfair rate compared to the ectos and the mesos. But so you're going to be able to gain and maintain muscle, which is going to help you long term with a sustainable, healthy lifestyle where you don't have to eat 1,000 calories a day. So quick tangent on that, but tell the audience, like, at least my approach to, and this has evolved over 26 years. A lot of trainers got a bad rap, and I've hired trainers just to experience something different. And they always feel like they got to prove a point and slaughter me. And that's not a point of a good training experience. So we've done 3 workouts. Could you explain to the audience what those 3 experiences were like, and the fact that you're on the screen proves that you survived?
Oh yeah.
Share with them what your experience was.
It was a real good experience. The getting in and not getting overdone the very first time, but kind of like learning my abilities and seeing where I'm at with a lot of stretches and a lot of movements that test my balance and kind of get me in the realm of being able to work out. First one, right after the first workout, I could feel the tops of my legs were burning good, and it's mainly because I wasn't using them. But you had a good analogy that I'm carrying around a 125-pound rucksack, and while I'm doing squats, I've got that weight on there as well. So just getting past that and getting my breathing up and knowing where my are you breathing too hard? And then, there's a lot of questions involved that was reassuring to me that it was going to be, you're pushing it, but you're not pushing it too far. And for that first workout, I was feeling it for 3 days. The second day I could definitely feel it the most, just from the squats. Mm-hmm. But it went away, and your other recommendation was the walking and, being able to walk, kind of reset those muscles a little bit, and came in for my next workout. And I think you probably piled on 3 times the reps and 3 times the weight when it comes down to, the abilities, and they were all different, so it's not like it was the same workout, the same exact movements. But you warmed them up. Before we worked out, you warmed them up by having that first workout, and then the second workout built on it. And that was, I think that was a good idea for success when it comes down to going in there and not just burning out on the same exercise, just using a little bit different movements, a little different muscle direction. And I was real happy with it. And
then
then
after the second workout, I gave you some homework and gave you one of our MyZone heart rate monitoring systems, which is, for the viewers' benefit, is 98.6% accurate of EKG that you get in a hospital. So it's the most accurate heart rate monitoring system. And we've actually had 4 experiences where that's identified people in atrial fibrillation, and I promptly recommended them go to urgent care and get that checked out. But anyway, it's a way that we can add a layer of science to monitor what we call zone 2, low intensity cardio, zone 4, zone 5. So today I kind of introduce you to what is commonly called as HIIT, or high intensity interval training, and baby exposure. So when you do this right through the process of progression, we're exposing the body to a stressor in the appropriate dose, and your body builds tolerance to that dose, and then it's capable of doing that dose a lot easier or more economically. And then we can have to progress to a higher dose, load, weight, volume, intensity, etc. So today I just wanted to use the heart rate monitor system, which Matthew did that homework assignment, came on, it was already set up. Like, usually I have to help troubleshoot. So that's another reason I was excited to work with somebody that's kind of a techie. And then we got on what I call the vomit comet, the airdyne.
You didn't tell me that before.
And we did, was it 3 intervals, I believe? And
20 second, 15, and 15.
Yeah, 20 seconds of high intensity effort. And he was cranking over 450 watts, which is about what I can push. And then recovered for 40 seconds. And then we did 15, 15 with 45-second recoveries. And in those 3 intervals, do you remember what your heart rate was hitting as a percentage of maximum?
Percentage, I got it up to 100%, but it usually was right around 96, 97%.
Yeah, and a lot of people might freak out. Oh my God, 100%. And I had to hit that on a cardiac stress test echo that I did recently. But the heart is capable, and through looking at your labs and obviously your doctor advocating exercise, little minimum exposures, and the idea with doing those, as well as, and the good news with that I told you today, is those will be infrequent, once every 10 days. And we're manipulating our mitochondria, the power plants of the cell. And we have density, how many you have. The more power plants, more energy potential production, and then mitochondrial efficiency. So low intensity zone 2 walking with your 120-pound backpack, combined with every 10 to 14 days doing some intervals, we're going to optimize efficiency and density of mitochondria. So that's a little bit of science for the geeks out there, which I am as much as you're a research junkie, I'm a biochemistry, physiology, nutrition, research geek. But you don't have to know that. You just have to be consistent. And things are going to happen. And you did hit 100%. And that just illustrates you survived and your heart was in a small dose. And it gave me an idea of wow, this guy can produce some watts. And so that's all part of the process. But just kind of framing all that on this journey, I really want to go back to your doctor's appointment. She made these nutritional recommendations. And then how fast was that to when you started implementation? Next day, that night?
It was that day. It was the last thing that I had that was not on the nutrition plan was that breakfast burrito from Chick-fil-A the morning that I first went to see her.
So you went cold turkey.
100%.
And what was that like? Did you have any legitimate detox, which would be normal when you come off of carbohydrates and metabolic dysfunction? Your body, just like a drug, can go through headaches, abdominal discomfort, sweats, trouble sleeping. Did you encounter any of that?
Not really. It was probably 2 months ago that I kind of dabbled in seeing about my weight and kind of went over to a keto type diet. And I
Mm-hmm.
did that for about 20 days.
Okay.
So just maybe it was because it was, I'd already done that.
And you kind of
But
prepared the body in advance a little bit.
I didn't really have any side effects from just jumping in and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I didn't eat much. So the only thing that I think I was really losing out on is the caffeine and the sugar that the diagnosis really just made me just decide that, those
Mm-hmm.
are no longer an option. And
And that would be
now that I
several.
think about it, I did have some ibuprofen for the first 2 days. I did. I didn't
Okay.
even think about that.
That's
So
fair.
there was some headaches. And
That's the
maybe I
most.
wasn't attributing it to the diet. Maybe I was just figuring maybe I had a headache and,
Man,
but
having guided many hundreds and hundreds of clients through this, like I've seen the same detox that alcoholics go through, shakes, sweats, convulsions. So it depends on how far along the metabolic dysfunction spectrum you are. As your body learns how to burn fat for fuel again and not
yep.
become, less glucose dependency, you can experience some 2 to 3 days of discomfort, and it can be longer for people that are really metabolic dysfunctional. So, um, I think the important point to illustrate for anybody watching or listening is, yeah, there's going to be a temporary setback or some temporary discomfort, but it sounds like you quickly adapted. And how are you enjoying this lifestyle now? Which, just to recap, is um, 18.6. So you're eating in a 6-hour window that you graduated to over some time, and you're
Yep.
eating lean, high quality protein choices with some fiber and some vegetables, and drinking lots of
Yep.
water, I assume,
Tons of water. Yeah. I
and
think
not taking, liquid calories from sodas.
nothing at all. Only water. Just water.
And so you did that and you lost over 20 pounds in a little
Yep.
under a month. And then now we're adding the exercise component, which is
Yep.
going to preserve muscle mass, or in your case, it's already gaining muscle mass. So that keeps your metabolism. So I've had clients that have lost over, women 50 to 70 pounds and men 50 to 100 pounds. And at the end of that process, their metabolism was the same or higher by maintaining or gaining muscle mass than it was when they started. And that's atypical with crash diets and medical weight loss and people that do it without exercise. So that's where I would say
Yep.
exercise and nutrition both play a crucial role, along with sleep and stress management and hydration. Those are the big 5 pillars. Major in the major. Those are the big
Yep.
things. And vitamin D3 deficiency is a major, fixing that. But outside of that,
Yep.
people will tend to get sidetracked with, I'm taking micrograms of this and turmeric, and I got the best running shoes and the best workout gear, but they're not moving and they're not lifting weights, and they're eating, higher glycemic foods that might market themselves as healthy, but through the lens of insulin and inflammation, like this is a shocker for a lot of people. Steel cut oats, and Matthew's wearing a CGM, and for those of you who have no idea what a CGM is, it's a continuous glucose monitor.
That guy right there.
Yeah, so he has it on his arm, and I've worn one of these for 12 months of cumulative validate how nutrition affects blood sugar response. But when you look at it through the lens of insulin information, which your doctor educated you on, which is awesome, the process is very simple, and it can look like different flavors for different people, but your version is working really well. I have another friend that's lost over 130 pounds using a very similar approach.
Very good.
So for those of you looking for an approach, I'm a massive advocate for lean, high quality, nutrient dense protein sources, and this breaks a common myth that we've been brainwashed to think that meat causes heart attacks. But grass-fed beef, if I was stranded on a desert island, I can only have one piece of nutrition for the rest of my life to sustain health, it would be grass-fed beef, because it has all the B vitamins, has all the phytonutrients. You think of those ruminant animals, they're eating plants all day, and those bioavailable nutrients are in the meat, and then we get them just like eating plants. So the fact that your doctor recommended that, I was like, she knows her stuff. And so I was super excited. And I'm
Cool.
again, want to say I'm super excited to meet Sarah if she's watching this. So recap for the audience, kind of to wrap this up. We're at the hour point. We'll kind of keep this to 60 minutes. Right now, kind of what your goals are. Let's frame for the audience, like, you know, with talking to a doctor, talking to me, doing your own research. Where do you want to end up? So you're at 330
330
pounds
today.
now.
Yep.
Where do you envision ending up? What's your goal?
Well, the last time I lost weight, I got down to 250. I got down to 210, and my wife said I looked too thin.
Okay.
Chances
Were you working
are,
out? Were you doing weights at that point?
I was not. So the thin
Okay.
was probably a loss of muscle as well. So
Yep.
she didn't like that look on me. So the goal is 215 weight wise, but I want to put on some muscle mass. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting my body back to the way I was, you know, when I was working out in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't last very long, but I did have a nice plan back then, and you know I was bulking up, and you know I'd like to have some muscle mass on me. Fill out the like I've got a little extra skin on my arms, you know, from the size I am. I'd like to fill out that with muscle,
And just from what you learned from us talking, why is it important just today? And I'm gonna, you know, I'm assuming Sarah too, are educating. Like, what did you learn about the importance of maintaining or gaining muscle mass relative to the labs that you started with in this journey?
It's gonna basically make it easier for me to be able to succeed when it comes down to the nutrition and the dietary needs that I need to go through. The liver is going to be producing the glucose, and I would much rather have I'd have muscle mass to be able to handle that instead of packing that onto my body. And
Muscle,
so energy as well. Like even just the working out, you know, even leaving the gym earlier today, after the HIIT training, I felt like I could breathe better. You know, just there's a lot of good feeling when I walk out of there, and the muscle mass is also something that is a long-term maintain. It's not something that you just put on, you walk away from the gym. So that's another goal of mine, is to stay with it. You know, it's not just a short-term goal of losing the weight and being fit, but I need a reason to stay in the gym. And, you know, if my guns are going to be that, then that's where I'm going to be, you know, enjoying the long-term goal of, you know, of staying fit. And maybe even in the future, I'll be able to eat a few extra calories because of the fact that, you know, I've got muscle burning through that nutrition.
Yeah. If you think of muscle as a glucose reservoir, the more muscle you have, the more forgiving your sustainable nutrition plan, whenever you get to that point, is. So our muscle are equated to our metabolism. It supports our joints. The more muscle and strength you have, the stronger, denser your bones are. As we get older, bone density is a significant consideration over the age 65. If you break a brittle bone, 30% to 35% of those people die within a year, and another 30% die within 3. So almost 2 out of 3 people. That's the primary concern of aging over the age of 65. So more muscle makes a sustainable nutrition, you know, lifestyle. It makes nutrition a little more forgiving. So when you get to that sustainable point, it protects your joints, it makes you more mobile, and it protects your youth. So that's why I say strong is young, and you'll see my hashtag strong is young. And that's actually the working title for my next book, because I just really want to champion the investment into strength training and resistance training for not only us adults, but our youth, our Kid Fit program. A lot of science about, since you're a parent, I'm a parent, and anybody watching that's a parent, I've talked about this in a 2-minute takeaway, but what they found in fairly recent studies is like our kids, by the time for males, it's 25, and for females, it's like 18, 19. between 0 and 19 for females and 25 for males, like you achieve your bone mineral density ceiling. So meaning the higher the ceiling you achieve through exercise and good nutrition and then sufficient sleep, you're setting up your kids for success. Higher ceiling means they have more forgiveness zone underneath as they get to their adulthood. So we'll be talking about that. But for you, it's really that sustainable lifestyle, making a eventually realistic and sustainable plan to maintain once you get to that goal of 215. And it may be different on the scale than 215. We'll be more paying attention to like maybe a 20%, 15 to 20% body fat mass percentage. It's kind of a good rule of thumb for males and 20 to 24% for females. But more importantly, making it sustainable. So the lens that we're going through and you're going through is like, can I do this for the rest of my life? A little more extreme to get to your goal, but through the lens of, could I do this with a couple of modifications for the rest of my life? So Sarah's already got you on a path. You know, you kind of have a more of an all or nothing personality. So a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, when we're having these conversations, like, we'll know if it's sustainable by then, because you might be like having, I don't know if I can do this kind of conversations with yourself. So anything else you want to share with the audience before we sign off for this episode of the Fat2Fit Show?
Just really excited about the journey, and having people in my corner like you and Sarah they are allowing me to do what I need to get done quicker than I'd get it done. So the diagnosis is get it fixed as soon as possible, less damage that way, and I'm excited to be able to have both of you guys being able to be on the same page, especially when you mentioned that the nutrition plan was right along the lines of what you would have been recommending. The synergy there is important to me. So it's I'm excited about the whole thing.
Yeah. So you have a village of support on your team, and just to plug, I would assume, but I want it to be you saying it, not me. You're getting support from home, and I can't emphasize how important that is to have the support of your spouse. And sometimes that's involved, bringing them along the journey in some capacity. For my clients, I always do a nutrition intensive and invite the spouse so they understand what the client journey is, and hopefully will be supportive in their journey and not enabling bad behaviors by bringing home, in my case, my wife knows not to bring home cookies because I will house those things. It will disappear. I will use my super awesome skills to find them and destroy the cookies. I'm the cookie monster. Yeah. So my wife supports me knowing that that's my trigger food. So we need that support at home. Would it be fair to say you have that support from Meredith?
Oh, I do, especially right now, the gestational diabetes. She's pricking her finger after every meal, and before she goes to bed, and when she gets up in the morning, so that she's tracking everything, which means that she's also eating a lower carb diet herself. So that support, not only mentally and physically, she's actually doing it as well right now with her pregnancy. So it's
amen.
The support's there. When she heard that I had talked to both Sarah and you, her response was, good. You've needed to do this.
Can't coach your spouse, so don't try. It just gets perceived as nagging, and I learned that from a PhD that's a mentor in my life. So I know a lot of people are going to be asking questions on our feeds as we progress, and what we'll say, we'll go back and circle back, at least I will on mine, to those comments that I'm seeing. We already have some questions coming in, and I'll respond in the comments to those specific questions, to those specific people. So we share the information that we're trying to share corporately here. I'm super excited about the journey. It's not too often that I get to work with somebody that I know is going to be successful. But as long as you share in that belief, I always say beliefs create reality. And if you can see and believe in the process and the people that are involved, the sky's the limit. and hopefully we'll be able to inspire some people on the way, because we are on a movement to get America healthy, the Make America Healthy Again movement, inspiring kids, parents, and people to move, to eat right, eat real food, and lift some stuff and get some sleep. So excited for the journey to be working with you, Matthew. Thank you for the honor of hiring me as your coach. And
looking forward to all we can do together.
Absolutely. So have a blessed Friday. And for everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. Share this with other people, and let's make this a movement. So we'll see you next time. We're going to shoot for every 2 weeks to broadcast a new episode of the Fat2Fit Show with Matthew and Coach Matt. And we'll see you next time. And God bless everybody. Cheers.
Thank you, Matt.